All right, welcome everyone. Good afternoon or good morning to those who are on the West Coast, and welcome to the NWISWeb Decommissioning webinar. My name is Emily Reed, and I'm going to be your host today. I'm joined by my colleagues Shauna Gregory, who's based in Boise, Idaho, and Leah Lennick, who's based in Oakland, California. Shauna and Leah are the product owners responsible for planning and leading the decommissioning of NWISWeb and the development of its replacement, Water Data for the Nation. We have 3 goals for the webinar today. The first is to inform you that NWISWeb is going to be decommissioned between now and 2027. So by the end of 2027, all legacy NWISWeb pages will be turned off and no longer accessible. NWISWeb is being replaced by Water Data for the Nation. Next, we're going to describe what you can expect to see as the legacy pages are turned off and go away. We're going to provide you resources and support as you transition to NWISWeb, and we'll tell you about those. So throughout the webinar today, you can submit questions using the Q&A function, which you can access through an icon that should be showing up somewhere in the upper part of your screen. It might look a little bit like this, or it might have a question mark on it. As you submit questions, first, you're welcome to do it at any time throughout. And when you submit a question, you only need to do it once. We will be tracking those questions in the background so that we can respond after the presentation concludes. We have saved about 25 minutes for questions and answers during the second half of the webinar. And all of your questions are welcome. We're really encouraging you to ask them. And if for some reason your question doesn't get answered, or if you can't access that Q&A function, we'll provide you with instructions for how to follow up with us by email. And the last thing I want to mention is that this webinar is being recorded and will be made available to the public through the USGS YouTube channel within a couple days or maybe a week or 2 of it concluding. Okay, so let's start with some background and an overview of the process. At USGS, we have a suite of products and services which provide publicly accessible water data for the nation, and we've been sharing this data on the internet for decades. But the systems to share this data have become outdated, and so we are on a long-haul mission to modernize our systems to expand the accessibility and usability of our nation's water data. We're really excited to undertake this modernization, but we move forward very humbly and with a lot of gratitude for the existing and legacy systems and the people who develop them and maintain them, because this wouldn't be possible without them. And I also want to give a special thanks and recognition to USGS cooperators and partners who are here on this call that help make the observational network possible. We're very grateful for your partnership. So a little bit more on the why and the how. NWISWeb today relies on software and infrastructure that are reaching end of life, which makes it complicated and risky to stay in compliance with security mandates, and also it makes it difficult to adapt to requirements for the modern internet. Therefore, we are replacing NWISWeb with Water Data for the Nation, and we're decommissioning as the old as we do so. We recognize that many of you rely on legacy pages and don't want to see them change and don't want to see them go away. So an important aspect of how things are changing is that we are, for the most part, not doing a one-for-one replacement, page by page and feature by feature. However, we do have a hard requirement to make all core data currently available to maintain availability of it. So you'll continue to be able to access that data into the future, but the way that you access it will change. And then a couple other considerations or kind of sidebars that we have is that we're using a technique called user-centered design, which is an industry standard for building useful products. And as we do user-centered design, we're bringing this into the modernization process to reduce the risk that what we produce misses the mark. And then in addition, we're held to federal laws, including the 21st Century IDEA Act, which sets standards for digital experience of the American public. And both of these things drive how NWISWeb is being replaced. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the timeline, zoom way out, and look at what's going to happen between now through 2027. We will be removing NWISWeb and replacing it in 3 intensive efforts that we are calling campaigns that will take place in the winter months for the next 3 years. We've scheduled the removal of pages during this period in order to avoid floods, hurricanes, and other hydrologic hazards to the best extent that we can, which is when we know a lot of people are needing immediate access to data and information. We also know that not all usage of our pages stops during the winter months, but we do know that by the numbers, fewer people are accessing data during these months, which is why we're choosing to make a change then to try to minimize a negative impact. During each campaign, there are key NWISWeb page types that will be removed. Now, because NWISWeb has a lot of different page types and the names of these pages may not always be intuitive, we're using both the formal page name as shown on the website to communicate to you about it, as well as the URL suffix that differentiates between these pages. So let's just pause a moment and talk about what it means when I say the URL suffix. So a URL is the web address that shows up in the top of your web browser when you navigate to our website or to any other website. So an example that I've shown here is for a daily values page. And as you can see, I've bolded the spot of this URL that has /DV in the URL. So later this winter, when a modernized page that makes available daily values data is available, the legacy page will be removed, and any URL that you might visit that has /DV in it is going to be redirected. Now, this might be seeming overly technical or overly complicated, and I will let you know it is complicated. And one of the reasons is that NWISWeb, the legacy system, has literally millions of URLs and pages. So the process of systematically deconstructing it is complicated. What we're trying to do here is just do our best to share enough information with you about how we are changing things so that you can get moved over to modernized replacement pages as soon as possible to minimize disruption. So taking a look back up at the table, you'll see that this winter, you can expect that daily values current pages, so that includes the /current and /RT in the URL, and NWIS home, which ends with /NWIS, will be taken down. Those are a couple of the key pages, and there are several others that will also change that we will tell you more about later in the presentation. Campaign 2 will take down WaterWatch and NWIS Mapper and provide modernized replacements. And then campaign 3 will bring down the legacy current conditions page, which has /UV in the URL. Now, I just want to note here that there are 2 similarly named modules, current and current conditions, but I do want to note that the URLs are distinct, and so you will be able to, we'll tell you more about it later in the webinar to make sure you understand what's changing. All right, next, let's talk about what specifically will happen when a page is taken down. So step 1 is that there will be a redirect. Let's use daily values again as an example. So today you navigate to a daily values page like this one, and the legacy web page renders in your web browser. It looks a little bit like this. But after this page is replaced and decommissioned, the first thing that you'll see is a redirect from the legacy page to the most applicable modernized page, which in some cases may not be a one-to-one replacement. And again, we're going to talk more about specific page replacement later in the talk. But when that redirect goes into effect, you will not be able to get back to the old page, but that old URL will continue to work for about a year. So you will have about a 1-year grace period during which we recommend you make bookmarks of those new URLs because the URL is changing. After about a year comes step 2, which is URL removal. So after that old URL is permanently removed, your bookmarks to that old DV page will break. So if you try using your old bookmark, when you go to that, you will get a 404 page not found error. There is going to be no redirection after this point because as we turn off NWISWeb, the old URLs also have to be taken down. So before we dig into even more details, I want to do a quick recap. NWISWeb will be decommissioned by 2027, and this will occur in 3 targeted campaigns. Water Data for the Nation is replacing NWISWeb, but the underlying data, which is from NWIS, will still be available. When an NWISWeb page is decommissioned, users will get redirected to the modernized replacement for about a year, and then after a year, old URLs will return 404 errors. So now I'm going to turn it over to Leah for more specifics on what's going to happen later this year in the first campaign.
Great, Emily. I'd like to focus in on what you can expect right now as we work on Decommission Campaign 1. This is an overview of the parts of NWISWeb that will be affected in Campaign 1. Website navigation from the homepage, looking at the latest data, including via maps, graphs, and tables to view daily values and current conditions, the delivery of discrete water samples, and the water year summaries. We'll dive into details for each of these. Starting with website navigation. These are pages that you may be familiar with, starting with the main NWIS homepage, and additional homepages for different data types, such as groundwater, surface water, water quality, and site information. These pages have served as landing pages to orient you with the type of data you can find here and to help you find that data and the web pages you're looking for. The discipline or data type specific homepages are being decommissioned since our agency and data delivery are no longer organized around these high-level disciplines. One goal of Water Data for the Nation is that you can find any of the water data collected by the USGS through the same mechanisms, integrating our delivery of data regardless of the data collected at a specific monitoring location. We've been working to develop a new homepage for Water Data for the Nation that highlights the new tools developed to explore and view USGS water data. We are currently doing usability testing of the new homepage to make sure it's useful and effective for users to find what they're looking for. And we expect to release this new page in early 2025. The new homepage will take over waterdata.usgs.gov to replace the legacy NWIS homepage. To summarize the website navigation changes you can expect in Campaign 1, you'll see the legacy NWIS homepage and the discipline-specific homepages redirect to the new WDFN homepage upon release in early 2025. Next, I'll walk through the changes you can expect around looking at the latest data with map tools. In Campaign 1, we will be decommissioning 2 legacy NWISWeb products: the mobile water data app located at m.waterdata.usgs.gov. This tool was designed for use on mobile phones, but with advances in web development and our focus and commitment to developing web pages in WDFN that are optimized for use on mobile phones, there's no longer need for a specific mobile app. The second product is NWIS Map, located at /NWIS/NWISMap. This is a way to get a location map for a single location at a time. This is different from NWIS Mapper. NWIS Mapper will remain available and unaffected for Campaign 1. In WDFN, we have a very powerful tool for seeing latest conditions and events on a map called the National Water Dashboard. It's located at dashboard.waterdata.usgs.gov. The dashboard shows the most recent conditions seen at USGS monitoring locations throughout the country. The default map will show you stream flow, but you can use the controls on the right side of the page to change the data type that you are mapping. There are also many layers that you can mix and match on the map to show weather conditions, from the current radar, recent or forecasted precipitation, current hurricanes and storm alerts, snow depth, and even drought information. Open the legend to see definitions of these layers and more details about where the data is from. Another useful feature on the National Water Dashboard is that you can specify the map area that you want to see. On the left side of the dashboard, you'll find a map icon where you can change your area of interest. There are options here to use your current location, draw a map around an area of your choosing, or select a USGS Science Center or US territory or state to map. This will then change your map to highlight the monitoring locations only in your area of interest. You can save this view to share with others or bookmark to return to it later. Just use the link icon located below that area of interest icon to copy the link for your new area of interest map. A replacement for the location-specific maps is already available on the monitoring location pages. Each monitoring location page has a local map located near the bottom of the web page to help put that location into context, including the upstream and downstream flow lines, the upstream basin or watershed boundary, and the street map. You can also see nearby USGS monitoring locations shown as red dots in the map. Click the red dots to visit the monitoring location page of that nearby location. To summarize the map changes you can expect in Campaign 1, you'll see the mobile water data app redirect to the National Water Dashboard, and the NWISWeb location maps will redirect to their relevant monitoring location page. The landing pages for NWISWeb will not have a redirect to a WDFN page, and will instead redirect to the Campaign 1 blog describing the decommission. All right, next let's talk through some changes you can expect around looking at daily values data. On NWIS, there are graph and table views of the daily values located at URLs that contain /DV, followed by specific location information. Up until now, we had not started the modernization of how we show daily values in WDFN. However, we have recently spent a lot of time on this, and they will soon be available to graph on the monitoring location page. We are working to add daily data to these pages, so you'll be able to graph any of the daily data types in the same place that you can currently graph continuous or IV data types today. Many other features currently available on the monitoring location pages for continuous data will also be supported for daily data, such as downloading and viewing the data records in a table format. The modernized delivery of daily data will be available very soon. We also expect to add daily data types to the My Favorites pages as well in 2025. To summarize the changes to daily values that you can expect in Campaign 1, pages that display daily values for each specific location in NWISWeb will be redirected to the monitoring location pages, and the daily values landing page will redirect to the new WDFN home. Next, we will look at changes you can expect around looking at current conditions data. There are two primary pages in NWISWeb for viewing a summary of current conditions. The State Current Conditions page, organized around a tabular view or list of monitoring locations and data types, and the State Real-Time Conditions page, organized around a state map. These are two of the most popular pages on NWISWeb, and I'm sure are pages that many of you are most familiar with as a starting place to find a monitoring location and view the latest data there. These are not the location-specific pages on NWISWeb, which contain /UV in the URL. Those pages will not be affected in Campaign 1. We have very recently modernized the state-level display of current conditions with the new state water conditions pages in WDFN, released just last month. Here you can check the latest water data throughout your state. You can change the locations shown in the map and the list, either with the radio buttons for the most popular data types to the right side of the map, or use the Customize Filter button at the top of the page. You can quickly make a list of locations that are important to you by selecting them for My Favorites, either by clicking the individual location on the map and selecting the checkbox there to add to favorites, or adding locations individually or in bulk by county in the location list below the map. Use that link to view your My Favorites page where you've added the locations you care about, and bookmark your favorites page to return to it later. To summarize the changes you can expect for viewing current conditions pages that will be impacted in Campaign 1, the current conditions pages and real-time current conditions maps with /current and /RT in the URL will redirect to the specific state water condition page in WDFN when applicable. The home pages at /current and /RT will redirect to the new WDFN homepage. I'll now pass it to Shauna for some more.
Thanks. All right, there have been a lot of changes around public delivery of USGS discrete water quality and samples data this year. In the spring, we began delivering discrete water quality and sample data in the Water Quality Exchange format version 3.0, and now we are ready to pull down the legacy web pages that deliver samples data. Discrete samples has been hosted at QW Data, but with the shift to WQX 3.0 this spring, those web pages stop receiving new data as of March 2024. To help give users time to transition, we left up the legacy pages for 6 months for historical data access. By the time we expect to decommission these pages, we will have been nearly a year out of date in the legacy delivery. So we need to help our users transfer over to the new delivery in WDFN. The first way you can explore discrete sample data in WDFN is on the monitoring location page. We have updated the summary of sample data table, which is currently available toward the bottom of the monitoring location page. This table shows you all water quality and field sample data that has been collected at the location, including the time period of available data, how many sample results are available for download, and the number of field visits or sampling activities that have occurred over time. This summary can help you determine if you want to dig deeper into the data, depending on whether or not the sample results you are interested in are there, or the quantity of sample data available at the location will fit your needs. In this summary table, you can page through the entire list, or you can filter the list by observed property or characteristic group. And you can go directly to download the data by using the observed property link in each row of the table. Those links will direct you to a new page called Download Discrete Sample Data, where you can use filters to customize the discrete sample data that you want to download. You can also access this page directly at waterdata.usgs.gov/download-samples. There are a number of filters available to refine the data you'll download. You can filter using location filters like state or bounding boxes. Alternatively, you could use result filters to filter by metadata in the results, like specific observed properties or a date range that you are interested in. This download page uses a new public samples data API that is available for anyone to access and use programmatically. You can also see the actual service call to the API in the download service URL box, which reflects all the filter and data profile selections that you've made. This link can be copied or saved for future use or to share with others. The last new piece added to WDFN for understanding sample data is called the Code Dictionary. This page will help you translate between USGS parameter codes and the new observed properties used in the samples data. You can read an explanation to help understand the transition from parameter codes to observed properties for discrete sample data. You could also search by the parameter code to get the associated observed property that is now being used. Alternatively, you can search by observed property to identify the associated parameter codes. So to summarize, as legacy QW pages come down, we will be redirecting users to utilize the download samples form to access WQX data. This redirect is also associated with the large data standard change to WQX 3.0 and the change to observed properties, all of which you may be unfamiliar with. We have lots of materials to help everyone understand this change in data standards, as well as read more about your options. Link will be put in the chat with references. The final decommission area is the water year summary. The water year summary report summarizes the data for the year with charts and graphs, as well as a description about the location and the data within, written by the water science centers who collect those measurements. These reports are available currently from 2013 onwards in this tool. So we are moving the water year summaries over to a new tool that will feel similar to the legacy tool with many of the same great content, including the remarks from the Water Science Center, as well as updated statistical tables and graphs. This tool is currently under development right now and will be coming soon. In summary, the legacy water year summaries will be redirecting to the new tool when it becomes available. So now that we've talked about the redirects planned this campaign, let's talk about how you can plan for change. When will each of these redirects occur? Well, we are going to be working on them one at a time to make sure only the pages we intend to come down are impacted. Redirects will go live on a rolling basis throughout the campaign timeframe from October through February. The order of decommission is based on a couple of factors, including technical challenges and whether the WDFN pages are ready to receive the redirect. So for campaign 1, for any pages you heard about that don't currently have the WDFN offerings yet, you can expect those decommissions to be later in the campaign after the WDFN features become available. So let's talk about what you can do to prepare for this decommission. The redirects themselves will start automatically, so you will notice when they go live if you depend on some of those pages. We know that you use our websites in a variety of ways, so make sure to look at your own bookmarks to identify which pages you rely on that are being impacted in campaign 1. If one of your pages was talked about today, we are recommending that you move your bookmarks early so that you have time to set up your favorite configurations of our pages. Most of the WDFN pages have configuration options that are saved in the URL. So explore our graphs, open up buttons and accordions, try changing the pages if it's not working for you until you get something that works. And once you find your best configuration, please reset your bookmark. Remove the old bookmark and add in the configured bookmark. Our redirects are going to be to the unconfigured version of the pages, the defaults. So any exploration you can do beforehand will help you find the best web page for your purposes without it interrupting you when you need that data fast. If you are having trouble as you're exploring and you're trying to reset your bookmarks, take a look at the special use cases section of the Campaign 1 blog that we have published to see if we have any advice, or alternatively, reach out to us for support. There are a lot of ways that people look at our data, and we can help you point you to other options if it doesn't match. Now, we are just beginning this big shift together, and there's going to be a lot of ways for you to stay up to date or catch up to us when you have the opportunity to tune in. We post product updates on the WDFN blog, including 2 new ones that are related to this decommission. Now, we also have webinars like this one, and we will expect to have another one to update everyone as we're approaching campaign 2 next October, a little bit earlier in the year. WDFN also sends out quarterly newsletters to subscribed emails where we highlight some of the work going on in our products in the last quarter. And finally, we post informational banners on the websites as new features are added or events like this webinar are scheduled to grab your attention when you're on our pages. I really want to make sure you know how to reach out for support. We do have some special cases already defined in the Campaign 1 blog, like, for example, how to see a series of graphs from multiple locations like you currently can in the daily values and current conditions pages. We're going to keep adding topics as we hear about them from you to help support the transition for all the ways that you might be using our pages. Please email us at this water data support email, which we will copy into the chat for reference. We have people who are just so helpful and also familiar with our water data on hand to help you out. We know that this change can be very challenging, and it's easiest to speak with a person in some cases. So you may be very interested in our new features, and if so, please consider participating in our user testing. As we work on our new features, we call in users with a wide variety of experience and use cases. So what we do is we talk together for 30 to 60 minutes, where we ask you to perform a series of tasks to figure out if the page is working, if the website is working. So if you are interested in some of the topics we talked about today, please email wdfn_usability testing@usgs.gov with your specific interests. We really appreciate it. Now, before we start answering questions, I just want to give a final thank you to all of our USGS cooperators and partners, as well as our Water Science Center colleagues who are the boots on the ground for our data collection. We are here to support you during this transition. Please do reach out if we don't get to your question today, or if you experience issues as the transition progresses.
Okay, thank you very much, Shauna and Leah. This is Emily Reed speaking again, and I just want to start by acknowledging that I know some people had some technical difficulties getting into the meeting, and so I want to apologize for that, but hopefully you made it in. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the USGS public YouTube channel afterwards, so you will have a chance to see it again or share it if you would like to. And then one other technical factor that's going on is it seems that some people on the call have access to a chat and others have access to the Q&A function, and you may not all be seeing the same thing. So we're going to do our best to make sure that all of the links and support email addresses that we have been trying to share make it out through both of those channels. So if you could just bear with us for a few moments while we figure that out. We will do our best to get all of the announcements out to you. But in the meantime, we have a number of questions that have come in. And so I am going to start addressing some of these questions. So let's see, the first one, and actually we have a couple questions that came up about water services. So I'm going to start by saying that water services is kind of a distinct application that's separate from NWISWeb. It's at waterservices.usgs.gov. The decommission that we're talking about today is all of the resources hosted at waterdata.usgs.gov. But we happen to have our product owner for API replacement present on the call with us. That's Mike Mahoney. And so, Mike, would you be willing to answer this maybe a couple questions about water services? The first one being, can you address if and how water services will change?
Yeah, happy to. And yeah, so to just echo what Emily was saying, so water services is the set of APIs for accessing USGS water data. And you can tell if you're hitting them because you're hitting waterservices.usgs.gov. So everything that was discussed in today's webinar is hosted on waterdata.usgs.gov. And so if you're hitting water services, you won't be impacted by this specific decommissioning project. Now, we are in the process of also modernizing water services, and we're hoping to release our first new endpoints early this coming year. But there's going to be additional information coming out in 2025 and 2026 about what those new endpoints are, what they look like, and what the timeline for migrating over to the new services is going to look like. So at this time, water services isn't going to be impacted by this specific decommissioning project.
Thank you. Great. And so then you also, did you actually address the question about water services IV as well? I may have missed that if you did. Okay, good.
So if it's on that waterservices.usgs.gov, which includes the /IV, includes /d or /sites and other endpoints there, water services won't be impacted by this decommissioning.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mike. The next question is about sharing slides. So what I will say about that is that we do plan to, as I mentioned, publish this webinar to the USGS YouTube channel. That might take a few days or maybe a week or two given the holidays, but we'll plan to publish it. So all the content will be there. And most of the material that was presented, or probably all of it that was presented today, is also published in a blog that we have put into the chat. So please share the blog, share the link to the support email, and then go ahead and you can share the webinar recording when it comes out. Okay, so the next question we have here is about discrete groundwater level elevations, and I am going to direct this question to Leah. So the question is, why do sites with discrete groundwater level elevations not appear in the new mapper? Sites with continuous groundwater elevations that are telemetered do show up, but no other groundwater wells.
Yeah, I can take that one. I believe you're talking about the National Water Dashboard, that national map view. And you're right that we do not have discrete groundwater levels that are included on that map. Shauna, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think there are plans to add discrete groundwater levels to the dashboard in the future, but you're correct, they're not currently available. We are developing a new tool called Explore USGS Water Data that'll be available within the coming months, where you can explore any discrete or continuous time series or data on a mapping tool like that, both recent conditions and back through all historic data collection. So that will be coming in the new year.
Thanks, Leah. All right, the next question I've got is for you as well. And this question is, will we be able to access historical data beyond 1 year? Our main use of monitoring wells is tracking trends over time.
Absolutely. So the monitoring location pages, which I am just going to share my screen. Let me get a groundwater location up. Are you all seeing my location here? Emily, you might have to allow me permission.
Yeah, we see it. It looks good.
Okay, great. So this is a continuous record at a groundwater location on the monitoring location page. So we default to showing 7 days, and these radio buttons at the top allow you to change to different time spans. You can use the change time span button here to plot any length of time that you want to show on the map or on the plot. It will be slower when you're plotting continuous or IV data, those 15-minute data punches. But as I mentioned, we're very shortly going to release plotting of daily values in this same place on the page. And that will be much faster to load, obviously, because it's a lower resolution, but for long time periods, that will be very useful.
Great, thanks, Leah. Okay, so the next question here is about, the question is, are APIs moving to new URLs? And then this person shared a URL. I won't read the whole thing, but it has, I see it's off of waterdata.usgs.gov, and it looks like it has /UV, possibly some other that came past it that includes like an RDB. I'm not totally clear on the URL there, but I will say that everything on waterdata.usgs.gov is being modernized. And if you are interacting with a page on waterdata.usgs.gov, if you're interacting with it programmatically to pull an RDB, that will also be modernized. And what we're going for here with our modernization is to have any available through APIs off of api.waterdata.usgs.gov. That being said, as you heard from Mike, the API and water service modernization is the front end modernization. And so it's likely that your workflow will be disrupted and that you're going to need to go over either to water services or possibly to a modernized API when that page is decommissioned. Hopefully that answered your question. Next, we've got a question about remarks information, and I'll you this question. Will remarks information on legacy NWISWeb website pages be ported over with the data? And then there was an example URL that was shared for, it looks like a NWIS DV surface water module.
Great. Yes, I will take that question. So Yes, in this case specifically, I looked at your URL, and much of that station-specific text on the legacy location pages is included on the monitoring location pages. If you scroll down towards the bottom of the page, there's a section called location metadata, and much of that information is included there and in the metadata table. In this case, the Water Science Center that is responsible for the location that you're specifically asking about has added those remarks to the blurb at the top of that location metadata on the monitoring location page there.
Great, thank you. And Leah, this next question I think is for you too, and you may want to share your screen again. So this is a question about filtering the tabular view. Is there any possibility of adding a filter for tabular view on the new web page? The way it defaults now isn't very helpful and seems a little cumbersome. I don't necessarily want the data to work with it every time. And they're asking specific stage, precip, and discharge.
Okay, great. So yeah, the way we do tables in WDFN is a little different because of just accessibility requirements in web design that is like more modern needs. So the way that you can view tabular data on the monitoring location page is to go to this view data records button. And then here you can filter to this table will show only what is shown in the graph above. So it syncs up with the time span that you've selected to plot. And you can also start typing in here if you want to get to a specific day. Like if I'm interested in just the 16th of December, a few days ago, I can look through each time punch on just the 16th of December. I hope that covers the question.
Thank you. And maybe just if you could just leave that up, because there's a question about graphing precip and gauge height for the last this user wanting. Is that available in the new water data for the nation?
Yeah, sorry, you cut out a little bit there, Emily. So I think the question was about plotting two parameters on the monitoring location page, right? So you can same period of last year, right? So here I'm looking at the last 7 days of gauge height at this location in Maryland. Right here, this compare option, you click this plus sign, and that adds the data from last year from the same period of time in this tan color. And you can do that for any of these preset time spans. So here's the last 30 days and the same 30-day period from a year ago. You can do that for any data type that you want. So if you change it to discharge here, likewise, you're looking at this year's and last year's 30 days of discharge.
Thank you. All right, hopefully my audio is okay now. So this next question is for Shauna. The question is, will it still be the water year summary, or is it getting a new name and format?
Okay, yeah, it is still the water year summary, and it is slightly differently formatted, but the same great content. So it's keeping its same name.
Good, thank you. Okay, the next question, we're going to go back to Leah. This question is, I have a page set up by USGS with all of my cooperator gauges in one place. Will that remain, or will I have to make my own page?
Great, thanks for the question. We have pages in WDFN available now where you can create a custom list of locations that you care about. So yeah, you will need to remake that, but it'll be to all of the modernized pages. So it's called My Favorites. We'll drop a link to the blog post that explains all the features there for the My Favorites list. We also have My Favorites graphed, which is you can pick any number of locations and any data types, any continuous data types that you want to get a long list of time series graphs for all of those, which is analogous to what a lot of people use in the legacy system to share with their cooperators. So yes, those features are supported in WDFN, and we will drop a link to the blog post explaining more, or you can reach out to us if you want more specific support.
Thank you. This next question is for Shauna, and it is about replacement of WaterWatch. Could you remind us what will be replacing the WaterWatch page, and will it include the functionality and the toolkit and past flow/runoff sections?
Sure. Yeah, the WaterWatch replacement that's coming next year is a big, exciting thing for us. We are replacing some of the highest trafficked features, the most used features of WaterWatch, using a combination of the web pages and services similar to what used before, as well as what is called computational tools, which are is a Python library called HiSwap. So some of the more complicated functionality, like included in the toolkit, is already available in some cases in HiSwap, which we should post a link for. It's a wonderful tool. Not only do we have the code to do that, but we also have provided some examples of how to make the different renderings of like the graphs and whatnot, and also more complicated workflows that might more similarly match what you're trying to do. Things like trying to make, let me give myself an example, trying to analyze the stream flow conditions and the historical stream flow conditions, which is not currently available on the web. So to make those kind of customized views. So I highly recommend taking a look at what we already have available for HiSwap, and then the WDFN features will start showing up sometime in the spring, I'm guessing.
Thank you. All right, the next question we're going to take is about notifications for what, so the question is, will there be support for notifications like what I have from WaterWatch for given conditions at a gauge station, for example, high or low flows, stage, temp, etc. And although it's not WaterWatch that what we would recommend you do is actually use the water alert system, which you may have subscribed to through WaterWatch. But the water alert system, which we can put a link in here for you to get to, is that enterprise modernized notification system that we provide, where you can receive email or text message updates when conditions at your locations of interest have reached a particular threshold that you set. So yes, we will continue to support that functionality. All right, next question here is about legacy discharge pages and access to some associated information. So currently, legacy discharge pages, such as the URL that's shown, include easy to access links to ratings information, NWS flood stage charts, and peak charts. Will these products or similar be available in the new system? And Leah, would you be willing to answer that question?
Yes, absolutely. So we will be working to modernize delivery of both the ratings and the peaks before those legacy location pages at /UV are decommissioned. The flood stages from the National Weather Service are currently included in WDFN. I'll share an example. This is an example I just found quickly. So when the period of time that you're plotting on the hydrograph reaches into one of those flood stages, it's shown with a colored bar on the graph. And regardless of the time span that you're plotting, like if you're not currently in flood stage, if you open up the legend for locations that have National Weather Service flood stages, you'll always see those stages included in the legend and a link to the National Weather Service gauge page for that location as well. So that is true on the monitoring location page and other graphing pages that we have in WDFN, like All Graphs or My Favorites Graphed.
Thank you. Next question is getting a little outside of the display on web pages, which is, will this change directly affect data downloads using the data retrieval package in R and in Python? Let's see, Mike, would you be willing to answer that? And just following that is, will data retrieval still be useful after this modernization?
Yeah, and I saw a few other questions along the same lines of what's the long-term plans for the Python data retrieval package, things like that. So figure worth mentioning that we are very much continuing to support data retrieval going forward. Data retrieval is not directly using the pages that are impacted as part of this campaign. And so this specific decommissioning campaign won't impact data retrieval anyway. But as we go through and start modernizing the APIs that data retrieval does use to get data, we are working extremely closely with the folks who maintain both the R and the Python data retrieval to make sure that that package stays operational. And so part of that has been even working to enhance the packages so that they are taking advantage of new developments in the R and Python worlds and are using, the newest, best approaches for accessing this type of data. So there's enhancements coming to those packages as well that will keep those packages operational, giving access to USGS water data going forward, even through all the rest of these replacement works.
Thanks, Mike. All right, the next question is about field measurements, and I think I'll direct that one to Leah. The question is, will we be able to access field measurements, for example, for discharge?
Yes, absolutely. So the service work for this field measurements service is expected this year, which we're very excited for. People have been very patient with us on that, and we want to get them available everywhere as well. So WDFN, like the daily traffic to the monitoring location pages, is higher than can be handled by that legacy service, and it's not really robust enough to handle that level of traffic. So to bridge that gap, we've utilized that legacy discharge field measurements on some of our newer yet lower traffic WDFN pages, or ones that are not as popular as the monitoring location page, and that are more oriented for advanced check status users. So I'm going to share my screen here. So I'm on a monitoring location page here that has gauge height and discharge, and I'm going to the view related graphs button. This all graphs link will open up in a new tab, and this is the page where we're currently supporting graphing of those measurements. You can see if I switch to a longer time span, 120 days, I'm seeing a few gauge height measurements here and a few discharge measurements as well. So those are currently available on /all graphs for each monitoring location, and they will, upon modernization of that service this coming calendar year, we will make those discharge and gauge height measurements available on the monitoring location graphs as well.
Thanks, Leah. Okay, so I'm seeing a question about someone asking about a page that starts with /NWISWeb, and they're asking that part of the URL was not mentioned in the talk. Is it safe to assume that pages that start with NWISWeb will be safe? What I recommend is that you send us an email with where you have copied and pasted the link into the email so that we can inspect the link and provide you kind of one-on-one support on that. And I've just brought back up the slides with the email address that you can direct that question to. Okay, the next question is related to accessing new gauge landing pages. So Leah, this question is for you. Is there a convenient way to get the new gauge landing pages to graph daily average discharge values? And they've given a specific monitoring location here.
Okay, great. I'm going to interpret this in two ways. So currently, when you're plotting continuous or IV data on the monitoring location page, you can use this button right here to add median data. So that's essentially the median data.
Leah, you need to share.
So sorry. Thank you. Turned off my mic, or I turned on my mic, but forgot to share my screen. So when I'm on a monitoring location page, plotting IV gauge height, continuous gauge height, I can add the median, and that's the daily statistic from 1994 to 2024. If you're referring to daily average discharge, meaning the daily values or /DV, we will very soon have support to plot that exact same times, that exact data type on the monitoring location page as well. So daily values as opposed to continuous IV data. It's not currently available, but it will be very early in the new year.
Thanks, Leah. All right, the next question we've got, and we do have just a couple minutes left, so we may have time to answer maybe 3 or 4 more questions. But there's a question that says, this finding daily data for a particular ground. This is the kind of info that I need to get on a monthly basis, and there's a link that's shared. And the question is, will I be able to find daily data for a particular groundwater well in an easy to read table for both the past month and for historic data beyond a year in the past? And Leah, I'm wondering if you would be willing to take that one.
Yeah, so as soon as we have plotting of daily values on the monitoring location page, again, coming very early in the new year, you will be able to plot the whole period of record of daily values for groundwater or any other daily parameter. And you'll be able to pick specific time periods that you want to plot with that change time span button on the monitoring location page. So yes, it'll be very easy to plot long spans of daily values data.
Thank you. Next, there's a question I see about the USGS hydrologic. Will this change affect the USGS? I believe that what's being referred to is a software package that USGS has developed and published and made available. And I am going to assume that that hydrologic toolbox will continue to be maintained. It's actually run by a group that is a little bit kind of adjacent to us in the organization. So I'm going to assume that it will continue to be working as expected, but that's a nice prompt for me to reach out to that team that maintains the system to ask them that question. So I'm not really giving you a free to email us. Okay. So we've got a question here about accessing historic data from a given USGS gauge station for a specific period of time. For example, continuous stream discharge recorded every 15 minutes between, say, 2017 and 2024, where that was previously available on a legacy page. So yes, historic data can be accessed on the modernized monitoring location page. We can put a link in the chat to one of these, and within those pages, the default view, like if you just use the URL that we put in, is going to be but you are able to change the time span. Data are available for the parameters that are showing up there. So the short answer is yes to that question. All right, I think we will take maybe one more question, and let's see. And then we will probably wrap things up. So I see a question about what has become of a current conditions stream flow page. And I'm just opening up that link now.
I can take that one, Emily.
Thank you.
So what's become of these pages, the current conditions for a specific state, Colorado in this case, for stream flow or precipitation. So I'm going to share my screen. The modernized view of these state pages is with the state current state water conditions pages that we just released these last month. I'll drop a link to the blog post explaining them into the chat here. But this is currently for Colorado. This is a state map showing all the locations with continuous discharge data in the last 120 days. You can also change that to different popular data types here, or you can use the customized filters to show, you mentioned precipitation specifically. So let's look at all of the precipitation locations on the map. So this is all continuous, all locations with continuous data for precipitation in the last 120 days. So there's the map view, and then each of these locations, you can add to your favorites, or you can just view the details of each of those values. All of the locations are organized by county in this list below the map on the new state pages.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, that takes us to the top of the hour here. And so I'm going to say thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for the questions. I know there were some that we weren't able to get to, so please do reach out to us at gs-w_waterdata_support@usgs.gov. And we will get you the support you need as you transition. And stay tuned for more information as the modernization continues to unfold. All right. Take care, and we'll conclude the webinar now.